fellows approached me earlier and told me that they were not aware of this genre, that it was new to them. So I'll just very briefly say that the genre is not actually new. It has been around, except that it has gone under different names. No? So the essay, I'm most familiar with. Then there's the memoir. There is the journal. There is the impressionistic meditation. There is also literary journalism. So on the one end, maybe the one extreme of the spectrum would be literary journalism, which is close to reportage, except that it uses literary techniques. And on the other end of the spectrum, the impressionistic memoir. The memoir that, where's Dr. Ron? Yeah, his submission, his manuscript was the memoir, but not impressionistic. It's the memoir as a short but autobiographical sketch. And Dawn's as well will be of that type. What I've not seen submitted here in this workshop ever, I think, is literary journalism, which, however, is very important, especially, I think, today. The kind of news that we are getting every day. I forgot to mention the blog, the literary blog, and other forms of writing that exist on the net, even the status, ano ba tawag?
Post.
Status report ba yun? Hindi.
Status post.
Yung post, yung pagbukas ng ano mo yung status report ba yun?
Status post.
No. For everybody. Timeline ba yun? Yung basta mahaba ng mga essay. Oh, anyway, that.
Facebook post.
The name for that animal. And then there's also, as you know, on Facebook, yung notes. So, many of us writers have utilized one or the other. If you follow, for example, Willie Pascual, he does it a lot, no? Writing short essays or even long essays in both English and Filipino. Jerry Grasso does very funny essays and memoirs. So that also is creative nonfiction. Now about Dawn. Dawn, who sometimes is called Nicole, and sometimes Dawn Nicole, I've known her since she was graduate student. Okay, she was a graduate student and thin. Okay, she wanted me to add that, and thin. And she was already writing creative nonfiction even then. And her book, this one, her first book, Looking for Polaris, is a memoir, as a collection of memoirs that are all about loss. The real loss, it is quite obvious to the reader, is the loss of the father, but she doesn't write about it in the book. Instead, she writes about the loss of many other things. Her subjects include, the book is very now, very contemporary. It writes about cosplay, it writes about music, it writes about disguises, a woman falling in love with a gay man. Can I say that? Well, I said it already. Yeah, and falling in love with straight men, mga ganyan. Basta, pero lahat yun nawawala. So, there are about losses. Oh, meron pa pala about when she was a beauty queen. Ayun. Naging beauty queen si Dawn nung payat pa siya, as she said. But all of it is a kind of mask or disguise, because the real loss is not really that way, not in that book anyway. But her contribution for today, as you know, you've read it, finally confronts the loss of the father. It is only part of a longer work that Dawn will tell you about, so I will now turn over to Dawn.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so I will be talking about my pre-writing and revision process for this piece, P.D. Gonzalez by Dr. Pangong, because this one, the one that we are dealing with now, is I think the third, or it's the third draft. But before I talk about that, I'll talk just a little bit about how I used to write before. So for my book, Looking for Polaris, I noticed that out of the 9 narratives, 7 of them were written in fragments that were held together either by a list or a metaphor. And I think it's the last, second to the last essay that best encapsulates this technique, because what I did there for that essay that I'm talking about is Black Hole Heart, where I used the fragments that I used were key moments of my life where the impact of my father's absence was felt that would correspond to the different parts of the constellation of Cygnus the Swan. And the reason why I used that is because in the chest of the swan, the black hole, yeah, chest of the swan, there's actually a black hole, and that's the one that's the fragment that I used to talk about my father's absence, or I kind of just wrote around it. So I like writing this way because the fragmented structure adds layers to the epiphany and allows me to say things without actually saying them. So if for Black Hole Heart, my actual epiphany was I could write about 5 different things except for this last one, because I can't, it's not that it's too hurtful or what, I can't remember when he left for the United States. So so that's the epiphany. But if you look at the structure and the metaphor that I use, and you know that black hole will eventually swallow everything around it. So I don't know when it will happen, but the black hole in the heart of the constellation of Cygnus will eventually swallow up the entire constellation, which is kind of what I feel my father's absence did for most of my life. So, and I did not have to say that. It just the structure would give me that. So that's what I like about writing in fragments. So next, I wrote this way because as for creative nonfiction, most of your subject would be your life, and life is messy. But writing about it doesn't have to be messy. So writing in fragments allows me to treat life in manageable chunks, like elements of a short story that make sense. So at least on paper, life becomes less messy. So, the original plan, the second draft for Speedy Gonzales When We Come Home was actually on loop, and it was supposed to be structured this way, as a playlist, because that's something my father and I apparently do. It's divided into 5 of my father's most played songs, which I was forced to listen to when I was a child. And each title would then correspond to some of these chunks. So this was the plan. So for Pat Boone's Speedy Gonzales, the most annoying song ever, if you've ever heard it. Um, this is the one where I talk about my father returning to the Philippines for the first time since he went there as an illegal. And then for the Beatles' Hey Jude, talk about me was visiting my father for the first time in the U.S. and then helping him make a playlist for his girlfriend. And then the third one, You've Got to Hide Your Love Away by the Beatles. I talk about how my father leaves me with his relatives so that he could go spend time with his girlfriend. And then the Cascades, Rhythm of the Rain, I talk about how I actually told like a parent telling an errand child, you need to get your priorities straight. So that then when fight. And then for the last part, I talk about the story that my tells over dinner, where he talks about the 1990 earthquake, he was still here. And then he talks about having to choose between TV, our television, and me. So in his story, he actually chooses the TV. Alright, but I remember it differently. So anyway, so that was supposed to be the plan, and the point was for using that structure. Edward Hoagland says that. Okay, so if there's the narrative, and then there's the point to your narrative. So he says that the point has to always take precedence before any narrative. So I always use that whenever I try to write or rewrite something. So I wanted to keep this in mind. The point was that the events of the US visit kept running through my head in an endless loop while I tried to convince myself that my father loved me despite passing me off this relative. So next slide, please. despite passing me off to his relatives when I was there. So that was the plan. But it wasn't working. Even after I sent the second draft, I felt that there was something wrong with it. And it wasn't working because I was angry. So the writing was ugly. And then I had a persona that was deliberately made to look pathetic so that the anger and sadness would feel justified. So then the effect of that would be that the writing felt insincere and contrived. And then also, I hadn't realized yet what was the real point of the piece because I was angry. So the writing felt clunky, the parts weren't meshing well with each other, and like all the times that I used that technique. Thanks. Yeah, so what was the, 1 year later, what was the real point of the piece? I divided into two parts. Part A was that my father did love me. And part B was the father I met in 2018 was different from the father I had who left in 1995. And I guess that father will never come back. No matter how much I imagine him to still exist, I'm never going to get him back. So um, even if I already had a point, I still couldn't properly arrange the events or scenes that would eventually lead to part B in a convincing manner because I couldn't pick which events or scenes were important and which weren't. And that's what Annie Dillard says. So that's one of the most important decisions that you have to make. What to include and what not to include. Because obviously when I have to talk about, oh, my father was an asshole, everything I have to say would be, he did this, and then he did this, and then he did this. And all of that points towards one thing, but I don't have to say all of that. I couldn't choose which ones yet to include in the narrative, so I didn't do it. And also, I realized there wasn't enough distance yet between me and the piece, because apparently I was still angry. So, my decision was to pick a fragment that was most manageable, and that was the Homecoming one, Speedy Gonzales. And if you listen, you know that song. He's the yeah,
Sing.
wait. The entire Speedy Gonzales was somebody telling, hey, Speedy Gonzales, you need to come home. And every time Speedy Gonzales talks there, he's a mouse, a Mexican mouse. Okay, and then, sorry, wait lang. I'm laughing because my father had to go through Mexico in order to go to the United. And then, wait, so that song is, somebody tells Speedy Gonzales to come home, and then he keeps saying, Rosita, Rosita, come quick, down at the cantina, they're giving you the food, comes with tequila. So, he doesn't get home because he has to go to his sweetheart, or he can't go home yet, even though I think their adobe was falling apart or whatever. He can't go home because he needs to get tequila. And my father was also a drunkard. And I thought, oh, this is your favorite song. How apt. But I didn't say that way. It was just in my head. But anyway, that's why I picked that fragment. That for me was the most manageable fragment. And then I also had to pick the point that was more maneuverable, and that was part A, which is that my father loved me, and then I also realized that there's an entire essay collection that needs to happen before part A gets to part B. Next, please. Now the challenge is,
Lechon, no? Ano may lechon? Yan, screensaver nila eh.
Alright, so the challenges for the third draft when I made all of those decisions was I needed to shift from next please. Beyond. I needed to shift from the third person point of view to the first person point of view, even though there wasn't much distance yet because I realized I was using the third person point of view as a crutch. And then my next challenge was to create one whole narrative without fragments because I realized that I had become too comfortable writing in fragments. And the metaphors that held my fragments together only work when there were things that I couldn't say, but not when there were things that I refused to say. And also the most important challenge, don't write angry, especially when I'm trying to establish love. So those are my challenges. So now, then this is going to be book project, and the working title is "I Dragged My Mother's Baggage Across the World to My Father's Doorstep," because that's essentially what my mother uses me for. She got when she retired from the government service, she suddenly had money. And then she says, "Come on, daughter, let's go around the world." And because she just needed someone to like take her picture and just her baggages around. So, but then I also realized that the entire time that we were traveling, those were the only times that we could be mother and daughter. So now this next collection is going to talk about traveling with family and traveling with my mother and also traveling with my cousins. Because we almost had my cousins and I, we had almost the same type of thing happen to us. Like somebody had to migrate and their family had to be separated. So just the effects of diaspora on the Filipino family. So that's going to be the project for my second book. And also me parenting my parents. And somehow while doing that, explore forgiveness and also write with some semblance of maturity this time. Because my first book, it was just me laughing at my entire life and saying, "Oh, I got parents, I raised myself." But for the second book, there has to be an improvement, a movement towards something else. So that's what I envisioned the second project to be. And so these are the possible essays that will be included there. So Speedy Gonzales, it starts with the homecoming. And then the travel in between, because that's essentially what my mother did. She wanted to get a US visa, that's why she kept traveling, just so that when she applied for the US visa, she would get approved, because I suspect she wanted to see my father. But eventually, when we do get there in 2016, my father refused to see her. So there's that. All right. So and then it ends hopefully with my trip there and being with the Marfil side of the family for the first time. And then when that ends, finally, I want to move into fiction because I'm tired of writing about myself. But for some reason, I cannot go into fiction because all of these things I kind of demand to be written. Otherwise, if I don't get this all out, I feel like when I do write fiction, it's just going to mess with fiction. So with the stories that I will eventually create. So yeah. Thank you.
So I think, Dawn, what you were saying is that in your first book, and it's in your poetics, that you wrote basically in order to survive, no? Because she had been, in effect, abandoned from age 14, was it? Yeah, she's been living alone, taking care of herself, and instead of writing about that, she wrote about other losses. And it's with this second book that she'll be confronting the real situation. No? Okay, so now let's open the. Shall we start with the fellows first? The fellows, anybody want to say anything? Oh, I forgot also to say, no, about creative nonfiction. It's actually rather dangerous because you bare yourself. You can't hide behind any masks or disguises. You are you, speaking as yourself. So it's, you expose yourself actually. And the people who comment or critique you feel like they're critiquing your life rather than your literature. Okay, sige, Ron.
Okay. Hello, Don. So I read her first book. So I read the essays in the first book. And so, kaya medyo may background na when I was reading the essay. No? So with regard to this essay, the day she finally reunites with her father, something she skirted, inikutan lang talaga niya dun sa first book. Kasi talagang parang until the last story, she wasn't mentioning how she was missing her father. And now, which is why it was very interesting to read how she finally met the father. And yung sa essay, I had a very clear picture of your father. Sorry to say, but ang pumapasok talaga sa isip is a dirty old man who cleans the dishes, washes the dishes. And if that's a picture you wanted to remain, I think you're very good at that. Okay? So, and then it's also about saying sorry. No? So, a lot of us actually find it hard to say sorry. No? So, so reading the story at the end, and then knowing it's about love. No? So that was good. I mean, the essay achieved, I think, what you wanted to with it. Now, with regard to improvement, now I'm wondering, sabi mo nga, it's our problem. We don't want to write about ourselves anymore. So, and na-feel ko yun especially since your first book, it's all about you, your losses, the boys, the father, everything else. No? Now, with regard to your second book, I'm wondering, who do you intend to read the book? Who would you want, sino yung target audience mo for the essay? Because, I'm wondering if you write about this, for example, kanino siya mag-resonate? Kasi if I would want to be reading your essays, gusto ko kailangan I would root for this person or the persona in the essays. And if you just talk about your father and you, parang yun lang ang worry ko. Na baka the stories, they sound the same. They might sound the same. And the readers might not finish the book. So kailangan very clear. So now, ang idea ko dyan is, no, there's actually a whole generation of Filipinos who grew up without their parents. So I think that's a very good target audience. No? So maybe you could explore that more on how did you turn out well. So how did you turn out well in the kahit nawala yung father mo. And you should explore how you actually met nga. No? So kasi ito I think you would have a big readership na maraming naka-experience yan eh. No? I have friends who've experienced that, and I have a friend, for example, ayaw na niyang makita yung parents niya. No, galit na galit siya sa parents niya. And he couldn't deal with that anger. So, yun yung advice ko with regards to the next essay. So kasi kung paulit-ulit, no, baka mamaya kasi they might sound one note to the reader. So that's something to think about.
Do you want to answer right away or you before this all together na?
So you answered your question. So my target audience for this would be, children of OFW parents who have been left behind, definitely. And also, I'm also targeting a certain age of kids now who have grown up, and for some reason, their relationships with their parents have shifted into one where they're the ones who have to take care of their parents, and they become the annoying little children that they have to deal with. So most of my friends are dealing with the same thing. They are dealing with parents who refuse to take their medicine, parents who keep on incurring debt, parents who don't know how to handle money and all of that. So it's a I guess a generation thing. We target an older audience who have to deal with how to take care of their parents. And mine is how do I take care of these people who showed me that you can actually leave someone and then they would take care of themselves perfectly fine. So, yeah. And hopefully the movement there is towards forgiveness. Now, and for your question, how did I turn out well? I don't know. That's the question. On paper, I look fine, but wait lang. I think that's why I'm going for maturity because with each essay, me dealing with my mother or me dealing with my father and also my cousins, hopefully that's going to show how I managed to have this kind of perspective, a mature perspective because of the stuff that I had to deal with. So hopefully that's gonna answer that over there.
I love your writing style. I think even if she used humor a lot, no? Napaka-evident naman na there's a lot of pain in the story. But it's very restrained, no? And very understated. No? Siguro meron lang akong suggestion. Yung first suggestion ko, the ending, I felt it was too abrupt. The way forgiveness was given to the father and the way forgiveness was handled. Yung forgiveness naman napaka-complex di ba? So parang ito parang masyadong neatly tied sa yung ending na bigla na lang, okay, mahal pala niya ako, and okay na kami. Parang gano'n. Hindi naman kailangan Hindi mo siya kailangan i-forgive para sa akin. Pero kung gusto mo siya i-forgive, hindi napaka-abrupt lang no. I'm wondering if you're going to talk about your mother also. Kasi yung napaka-silent masyado ng mother side, when tatlong beses mo siyang binanggit. And yung silence na yun, parang laman-laman. And the way you treated your mother, well, at least the writer treated the mother here, medyo may alarm bells din sa utak ko. Kasi yung the way she was described as paduy, being compared to the father kasi. And then there was a mention of her desire to chase after her husband when she wanted to go to green card. And then there was just a simple line about living apart. And ang dating lang sa akin is that the kindness is shown so much for the father. No? There's a parang the narrator keeps rationalizing actually the father's yung mga yung indiscretions, yung kanyang accents, and yet the mother only mentioned thrice is treated differently. You might want to examine.
She mentioned in her presentation that the second part of the book will be about the mother.
That was one of my concerns actually, yung ending. Because I thought, because that's one of the things that you ask, is the ending earned? And I felt that I was moving towards forgiveness. And I know I forgave him that moment. But I wasn't sure if on the narrative it was earned. So thank you for pointing that out. I may have to I need to point out where that forgiveness was. And yeah, that's your and when I talk about my mother. So that's why the next project is about forgiveness, because that's one of the things that I realized. I was kinder to my father because I thought he was the better parent, and with my mother I was always condescending because I thought that she didn't really do a good job of being a mother. So I thought, okay lang na to take this tone, but after spending all the time with my father, I realized both of them were kind of almost the same, really. So that's why when I go back to all of these essays about my mother, that's what I'm going to have to be conscious of now. Even though I do treat her as some sort of comic relief most of the time, because she does behave like a child. I mean, she's colored coming from me. That's saying something. But I also need to make sure to show that the attitude will shift towards me being more understanding of my mother, or realizing a more human side of my character. She's not quiet. So, yeah.
Anyone? Yes, Bern.
Hi, Nicole. Nicole kasi sa Facebook. So. I'm not sure if you're familiar or if it's even relevant, pero are you familiar with Alison Bechdel? He's a graphic novelist, and yung dalawang works niya, Are You My Mother and Fun at Home? Yeah, they both deal with the parents. So yung Fun Home deals with the father who committed or the father who had died earlier, pero parang suicide siya. And then the relationship with the mother. No? So parang one book is the father, the other book is the mother. So I think that might be helpful kasi it's non-fiction, pero it's in the graphic novel form. No? Pero I think the writer, si Bechdel, uses a strategy there that might be helpful for your collection. Kasi what Bechdel did is she circles back to she only reveal as chapter deals with a different aspect of the relationship. So when you finish the book, you don't only see a clear picture of the father or the mother, you also see a clearer picture of the events. No? So dito sa Speedy Gonzales, I was thinking, pwede siyang hatiin sa dalawa. Na parang, kasi feeling ko na bogged down yung pagbabasa ko ng thing with the Tita Letty narrative, na parang it's sat most of the energy from the work. Kasi parang it's coming from a different, iba yung energy niya, no? Yung parang, Tita Letty, the indiscretions, no? It comes from a different place, no? Kaya yung ending parang hindi siya earned. Kasi parang, you see this aspect of the father. So parang, feeling ko kung yung lang, just the homecoming itself, minus that, parang it would be a more tighter chapter. And then ibang chapter in the same in that homecoming, nandun yung the Tita Letty story. So maybe that's something you can explore. Thank you.
Hihiwalay yung Tita Letty.
Parang ganun, ma'am. So parang it's the same event or it's the same visit, no? But it's a
Yes, sir.
I just want to disagree with the suggestion. I think na yung napaka-powerful ng Tita Letty aspect ng story. Kasi the way the father treats Tita Letty is actually a reflection of the way he has treated the persona and even other women. So, and sa kanya na-concretize yun. Baka lang hindi kailangan baka hindi nakita ni Don din yun, pero para sa akin yun yung manifestation of how he actually treats women.
I wonder, Sarah, before I call anyone else, could you say a little more about the humor? Because you mentioned that you like her style because of the humor. Last time, I think early on in the workshop, we were talking about how we Filipinos don't seem able to write with humor. No? This is an example of someone who does use it. And I think it's not as obvious here as it was in her book. It's a very self-deprecating kind of humor. Sarah, for you, did that work? Did the humor work to make the persona sympathetic? Or did she come across as just carping about her parent?
Persona tapos kinontras pa niya yung sa father niya. When actually magkapareho sila, may incongruity din na ginamit si Donna yung her father as this messy man in his personal life, and yet he's so tidy. Ganyan. So for me, it works. It softens the piece. Naging very poignant siya. No? Tsaka hindi, parang tinanggal niya yung galit natin sa lalaking ito.
It's also quite, I think for me, the humor prevents it from being sentimental, which is very important, I think, in non-fiction writing. You shouldn't sumasablay yun pagka nagiging sentimental. So the use of humor is quite excellently done, but it's one of the things that strong point, I think, of Dawn's writing. In her book, she mentioned the other women writers that she more or less took inspiration from. They're all humorists. For example, the late Charlene Fernandez. Jerry, you remember Charlene, I'm sure, no? She was also my student. Magkaklase ba kayo? Or she was a little older. Okay, she died recently. Sulat siya sa Facebook experience. So Charlene was one of them. And then Rica Bolipata Santos, no? Who also writes about rather painful things, but in a humorous fashion. So, well, the best comedy, of course, is underlined by tears. No? Laughter is underlined by tears. It's what makes it powerful. And I think you see it here in Dawn's work. What other, sa fellows mo na ako, June, pwede? Sino pang fellows na gustong mag-comment? Wala na
Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry, sorry. Akala ko panelist si Jerry.
Ay.
The humor that Don expresses here is the sort of humor natatawa ka, but after a while you feel guilty about laughing. Because you know something, you know the author is gone through something harrowing and is trying to, I guess, unburden herself of that experience in a way that won't impact upon the reader as, as you said, too sentimental or angsty or griping. And ang hirap niyan. Ang hirap niyan. But I'll stick first to technique and structure here with Speedy Gonzalez. This is the third essay in the collection. I don't remember, but it's the first of this piece. Imagine it as fiction. The eye seeing this man unpacking, not yet labeling him as father, and not yet getting any signals that she's the daughter. So the reader sees the scene, does not immediately realize that the father and daughter are interacting, so that when it's revealed maybe in the third or fourth paragraph, oh shit, magkama pala to. And then kasi at the bottom of page 155, you have a description of the father, tall, lean, maybe, I'm just imagining that moved to the front and then the eye observing this tall, lean, concept and unpacking the box and readers wonder what's going on here. And then later on, awkward communication first. And then, although hindi sinabi niya kaagad na may girlfriend siya. How gonna fictionalize that? But then, I'm just imagining different methods of defamiliarization where which might make a stronger impact upon the reader in this sort of scene, rather than immediate knowledge that it's a father and daughter talking. Because I'm pretty sure that, well, I'm assuming that this was an awkward situation at the beginning, so that the reader can share in the awkwardness. Just something I'm throwing around as I look on the structure of the piece.
Yes.
Congratulate ko sana si Don kasi parang natatawa ako sa article, sa essay. Siguro natawa ako dahil nasasaktan ako. I think it's very much like you. Tanong lang, do you still keep things to yourself about your father? Something that you still keep for as a secret?
Maybe can you clarify
I
your
mean,
question a little?
Because of course, CNF is like revealing your experiences with your father. Do you still keep a little bit of things so that you can?
Are there some things that she has not yet
yes,
revealed?
I think so, definitely. The stuff that I still keep to myself, I think I keep them because they don't. At this point, all the stuff there that's meant to be funny, I think if somebody read it, I think it would be read it about themselves, they would think it's still okay to be revealed. But some of the stuff that I hold back, I usually hold them back because it's not going to paint my father in a good light. I mean, harsher portrayal of my father, so I tend to keep that back. And also, if it doesn't help what I'm trying to say, definitely.
She keeps some details for reasons of art, and the others because she doesn't want to paint a harsher picture. So he's worse than this asshole.
Oh my God.
Oh my. Okay.
So, bibigyan ako ng... I just wanted to give a perspective dun sa comment ni Jerry, Because, which is why I wanted. Kasi ako, dahil nabasa ko na yung background story dun sa first book, actually exciting na sa akin na yung first line, yung anak, may girlfriend ako. Kasi alam ko na yung backstory. So, I guess, something to think about is paano kung hindi nila nabasa yung first book? Now, would they read this essay differently?
Any more fellows? Yes, friends.
No, nakalimutan ko yung sasabihin. Bata pa ako. Okay, yan. Kasi, because it's CNF, and because the object or the subject of the CNF pieces or the family, parang in this second book, tanong lang ba, will you also dive into the aspect of you, the writer, writing about them and how they react to being the subject of the pieces. Kasi parang, kung sabi mo, mag-fiction ka na, no? Parang bibitawan mo na siya, parang, is this an aspect or parang nandun ka lang ikot sa travels with the family? Parang, magkakaroon ba ng meta level, no? Yung work.
So I guess that would be me talking about writing about the second book, I think. So yeah. I'm not sure if I could write about that because my father has a copy of the book and he probably knows that I write about him and he reads, I'm sure of that. But he hasn't given me any sort of reaction, any feedback. So, anong gagawin ko? And my mom, I think, I'm not too sure about my mom though, because I intend to, because if the second book is all about redeeming how I treat my mother, because we're both very harsh with each other. The thing about the second book is that it's going to be some sort of, I don't know, peace offering to her. And I'm not sure how she will, well, I think she's just going to be happy that she's in a book. It doesn't matter what's written. So, like, there's not, if the plan is to get something poignant out of the two of them because I write about them, I think that's yeah.
It won't happen, Francis. Ginny? Hindi, actually, ikaw muna, tapos si June, tapos si Luna. You were raising your hand kanina pa.
I only have one.
Yung mic.
But before I make my suggestion, which I myself would not know how to follow, I want to read the last part na, the last part. Now the first time my father hugged me upon his return. That one, the entire thing until the end. On page 160, 160, at the very end now, the ending, Jim. So that whole thing. Actually, my real suggestion is, that's why I said, but I myself would not know how to follow through with my suggestion is, the way it ends, it is not forgiveness. My suggestion is it's not forgiveness. Don't use the word forgiveness. Especially if it's really horrible. The Papa has not grown up. He's still a teenager pa rin, or whatever. I don't want to be libelous about teenagers. But stop. He's not grown up. Okay. Ang suggestion ko, if you can end with an image that will sign up your perspective on your papa, on your father. An image. Now, I don't know what that image is. That is where creative nonfiction draws from poetry. You can end with an image that will give flesh to what really is your perspective, what really is your feeling about your father. Because when you read this entire thing, there's so much. His heart was strong, steady, his arms like steel bands, no gentle swaying back and forth. It was still, but loud, with all the years it tries to collapse in between us. By the way, yung language, what's the it? What is, it was the still. What's the it there? Okay. I remember my heart, shattering in on itself, tight, closed fist, no tears. I remember thinking, this is it, etc. When I was 12. My heart closed up, it was my brain. That's why I could not remember. This time, first hug, all synapses firing, only my heart remained closed tight with, masyadong development of that, and almost until the end, kung ako ikaw, it can be much shorter. Wala na yung masyadong detalye. I will remove many details. Pero yung I'm so sorry, Koy, for everything. I will retain that. My childhood, no more commentary. No more commentary. It's okay, Papa. I love you. Okay? What is the image that I will end this? It can be, patay ngayon. In other words, the reader patay. In other words, it will be more powerful. It will be more powerful. If you can find the image. What is the setting? When we got home, saan ito nangyari? When we had, is it still outside? Inside the house na? I don't know. Okay, if it is outside the house, I'm sorry. But it is outside, and some aspect of nature, that keep the image of your inner condition, which is not forgiveness. Then it will be more believable. After all that feeling.
In other words, I think he's saying he doesn't believe you when you said you forgave him. Yeah.
I think that.
Yeah.
The story, I did not forgive the father.
Yeah, okay. He did not forgive the father, so figures you haven't either. So, but the point I think is that you should end with an image, not with all these details. So, June.
Siguro yung problema dito. Yung problema, basa ko yung unang libro Kaya yung, actually, imagine kita nung itsura dito. Nung dinidescribe niya yung mga crush niya, yung mga competition na duty queen. And maybe yun yung dahilan kung ba't may problema ako yung sa ending nito. Kaya I'm trying to figure out kung ano yung nangyayari. Yung motif mo dito, sorting out So, sa dulo, in-expect ko may lilinaw. Tapos yung strategy mo, puno-puno ng irony Kung paano ako nagtawa dun sa unang mong libro, dito ang pakiramdam ko ginaganon ako. Kasi yung noon na natatawa ko Tapos nung nakita ko yung hindi, pinipilit niya akong magtawa para yung pain niya hindi mapunta sa akin. Ito yung mga ginawa mo doon. Yung box na dapat matuwa ka, empty. Mga spam lang yung laman, yung mga pang-sale na pagka-read ka, bilhin mo yung mga seller. Yung mga ganon-ganon. Natatawa pa ako doon. Yung red mo na yung kalahati bulok, ang dami nun, ba't nabulok? Anong nangyari? Saan tatawa ba ako doon? Pagkatapos, yung mess ng closet mo, na ikaw na yun Ang dami-dami ko nang nakikita ko doon. Tapos yung pinipilit mo yung mahiga, na i-offer mo yung kama mo dun sa sofa na nakabaloktot ka. Yung pag pinagdutong-dutong ka, sinasabi mo in a funny way. But then, ang hinahanap ko nun, what are you telling me? So yung hinahanap mo ba yung ikaw? Yung ngayon, kasi yung nabasa ko nung bata ka eto, nasa kondo ka na. So yung hinahanap ko ngayon, yung ano yung idea mo na ng home? Baka naman too much kung sabihin kong metaphorical home na lang yun. Definitely wala yung the happy home. Yung the old house. Nawala na yun Tapos, nagsuggest ka dito ng workplace, saka yung kakaunting kaibigan na hindi ka naman talaga makarelate sa tao. Hindi na ako talaga makakatawa doon. Pagkatapos, yung kondo rin na yung malaki lang sa isang taon na yun, gano'n. So, ang dami mong nire-reveal ng yung kasi half of it nire-reveal mo na. Kaya lang, baka ako sa second essay o sa third essay, magre-reflect yung hinahanap ko. Kasi yung tatanong ko nun, what do I do with all these details? So how do I understand you now? Kasi pinapasilip mo lang ako Ang nakikita ko doon, hanggang pinabasa ko ito, nalulungkot ako Na tawa ko ng tawa. Siguro yung pagdating ko yung sa next essay, yung binabanggit mo, di ko na alam po ano yung i-expect ko. But anyhow, gusto ko yung pag nagbabasa ko ganito, yung ini-involve ako, yung nanghuhula. Ano yung may suspense, ano kaya mangyayari, ano yung mangyayari. Kaya yung pagdating na, at least alam ko mahal ako ng tatay ko. Parang hindi yun yung, parang hindi ako ready na doon ka mag-end. Parang ibang essay yun, kasi na-conclude ka agad.
I guess nobody believes that you forget your
Naniniwala ako.
Pero yung sinasabi ni June yata na, June, if I understood you correctly, that you were laughing, but at the same time, you felt that it was painful. If that's what you felt, I think that's what she was going for.
I
Yun
don't
na nga
know.
yun. That's why I think the ending is so, parang, it went in a different direction, no? The way the memoir was going, no one was expecting that it would end with forgiveness. Oo, kasi parang hindi naman siya bumabait Naglinis lang siya ng bahay. Kasi probably could stand the mess naman because you're so messy, no?
Baka naman in real life,
Ano, Roland?
baka naman in real life, she really uttered that line. So, kaya nga, so,
Yung I love you.
or
It's
I
okay.
forgive you, or it's okay. So parang kasi, if, if you want to reveal something on yung contrary din, na unresolved, then you should have kind of do a self-reflexive gesture na parang chika lang ito muna, or this time, I'm parking it here and bringing it this way. Obviously, hindi naman mariresolve yung absence at yung pain na nalikha niya with that kind of gesture, di ba? Pero dito kasi parang tightly closed, yung closure ba, medyo tight. That you cannot think otherwise na, dahil ito yung kinunclude mo. Siyempre sa CNF naman the author is king or queen. No? Dahil ito yung truth mo But from our reader's perspective, we're not convinced at all. At somehow nga, parang it's a kind of a drawback to the way yung Only When I Laugh mo, di ba yung central image ni Neil Simon na spear yung lalaki na guard, pagtapos tinatanong nung everyone that was coming into the kingdom kung masakit ba yung spear na yan, ba't hindi matanggal-tanggal. So, sabi ng guard, only when I laugh. And that's the kind of imagery or the kind of effect that this piece have on us. No? Pero yun nga lang, parang hindi naman convincing lang yung line na yun. And I think you should know. Dahil in the spirit of transparency and honesty, dapat medyo hindi naman chika, kumbaga hindi naman chika closure, pero something more deserving of the weight of emotions that have built up, and we know that will not be processed by this kind of single entry into that book project ba?
Thank you, Roland. I think magandang insight yun na baka yun ang talagang sinabi niya in the scene itself, no? You did say it to him. But whether you meant it is I
Dapat
guess
nga
what
na-process mo na
everyone wants to know. Kasi the essays
naman
are so
unresolved.
honest.
It's
So
not that
honest
resolved.
and so forthright as you were in your first book, no? About everything, including your relationships with everybody. Pero parang yung ending doon, what you were saying was different from what you seem to be actually feeling. Do you want to answer or shall I call Luna? Luna.
Hi, Don. My comment is framed in the context of I did confront this very same issue. And in my case, I felt that the anger is important, and the negotiation to forgiveness is wala siyang promise na makakarating. So, bahala kayo kung anong judgment niyo doon. Kasi I reconciled with that stand towards that subject. However, I would like to share my encounter with an Australian author who wrote Do Oysters Get Bored? Pangalan niya si Rosa Lily. Tapos parang fortuitous yung meeting namin sa Australia. Nakitulog ako sa kanila for some reason or another. Basta nakatulog ako doon. Wrote, Do Oysters Get Bored? Bored. B-O-R-E-D. So parang kakaiba yung title, di ba? Si Rosa Lily kasi ay isang social anthropologist. Tapos nag-specialize siya sa autism. Ang anak niya ay may autism. So anong connection dun sa father-mother issues? Like you, and like me, naging terrible yung adolescence niya. Pero yung degree, kasi varying degrees naman yun eh. Pwedeng, ang unhappy adolescence ay can comprise of hindi ka nabigyan ng baon, hindi ka binibilan ng maayos na damit, tinatawag ka ng kung ano-ano. Sa kaso ni Rosa Lily, kasi bohemian yung parents niya, they were both artists. Dorothy Hewitt at saka yung isa pang lalaki, parang artist. Tapos yung bahay nila, parang karinderyang bukas sa lahat. This was in the late 60s, 70s. So you can imagine the scene na pumapasok doon, yung mga poets, drugged, tapos in-encourage si Rosa na gumamit ng pills at a very early age. Halos ipugaw doon sa mga artists and poets na pumupunta doon sa bahay nila. So horrific yung kanyang pinagdaanan. Tapos, hindi ngayon pinaksa ng diretsyo doon sa kanyang saminsay. Sa halip, yung book, nakakonsentrate doon sa paano siya tinuruan ng anak niya para makita, ma-process yung nangyari sa kanya. So yung line na Do Oysters Get Bored, nanggaling yan dun sa autistic son niya, na para sa akin yun yung tunay na poet nung work. Not Rosa Lily, but the kid. Kasi yung sa autism, dala rin nung specialness nung kanyang kondisyon. Hindi na nakikita, parang iba silang tumingin sa mundo eh. Na yung defamiliarization ng bata ay naging mahalaga para kay Rosa. Hindi lang parang, hindi pagpapatawad ng tatay o ina, kundi yung sarili niya. Kasi yung naranasan niya, dulot ng experience na yon, medyo in decline yung kanyang morality, alam mo na yung loose, naging promiscuous siya. At saka, ang thankful lang ay naging social anthropologist pa siya sa lagay na yun. Tapos isang highly respected na writer. Tapos talagang may stature siya sa Australian writing. Pero yung society din kasi niya, ang universal element kasi nung sinusulat natin ay what constitutes family? What constitutes true parents? Yun naman yung tanong niya, di ba? What makes you a parent? Pinakain mo ba? Diba, binigyan mo ng baon? Pinangaralan mo? Pero sa dulo, minahal mo ba? Pinakinggan mo ba? Inispeto mo? So, yun. Hindi ko kaya yung Speedy Gonzales humor mo na, ano ba yung line ni Speedy Gonzales? Yung andale, arriba, diba? So, iniisip ko yung connection kung bakit ka naiirita sa kanya. At tingin ko may connection dun sa yung cartoon character kasi na yun, yung pinapalabas siya sa television, yun yung parang babysitter ng mga bata na hindi naman naalagaan ng maayos. ng mga magulang. So nakatanga ka lang doon sa TV, in-entertain mo yung sarili mo, makain ka siguro ng champurado or whatever, pero yung alam mong ikaw lang talaga mag-isa sa buhay mo. So tingin ko lang yun. Hindi ko maiwasan yung mag-psychoanalyze kasi ito yung ano mo eh. Ito yung ano. So, ang panganib ng ganitong mga projects, kaya pinatawag mo kami, nakita ko yung mga ironies tungkol dun sa anong uri ng mga lalaki ang naging lovers o ano yung mess na talagang sinasabi ng mga aparador. Natuwa ako lahat doon. Pero paano siya tatapusin? Tingin ko dapat mas larger yung tingin. Kasi may mga left behind children din sa China na mas malala. Kasi yung bundok-bundok yung distansya noon. Di ba yung talagang parang bahala silang magsipak ng kahoy. Parang katulad din ng mga bata rito na nasa mga kabundukan, nasa probinsya, na yung mga magulang nila ay nasa Maynila. So, maraming ganung uri ng pagkabata na dapat nasa perspective din nun. At tulad ni Sarah, yung tingin din dun sa nanay ay medyo nakatali dun sa malalim na patriarchal na issue na parang pwede mong patawarin pa yung tatay pero hindi mo papatawad yung nanay kasi babae siya at hindi na ginawa yung meron line dito eh. There were no lectures about keeping a house or being a lady. Nothing. 158. So, yung line na yun, ang laki nung ano nun eh. Meron nung, andun yung sibat. Nandun yung sibat na sinasabi dun sa Neil Simon joke na hindi naman ako talaga tinuruan na maging tao ito eh. So, why should I feel grateful for her in this life? Ang nag-i-intrude sa tingin ko dun sa reckoning mo, dun sa forgiveness. Siguro kasi, whether you admit it or not, nasa faith, o nasa usapin ng relihiyon, na itinuturo na maging mapagpatawad tayo. Pero, tingin ko, may mga bagay na hindi dapat patawarin. Yun lang.
Wow.
I will Vlad first and then Ann.
Una sa lahat, yung tago ng tago mahabang namin. NAM.
Very vital yan.
Please note. Okay, baka extra maging mas mambili ako, pero nagkakain siya sa gusto kong sikapin maging maingat sa na hindi yun naman ginagawa ng mga tao ngayon, yung pilalanin na dahil base sa tunay na buhay, baka may tendency ang una sa persona sa akla ay baka judgment sa manunulat. So, kung medyo parang extra bulol, extra kung saan siya napunta, doon nanggagaling yun. Yung bukod sa nasabi na baka it comes across na hindi pa napapatawad yung tatay, ang parang subtext dito na hindi pa nagmamanifest doon sa current manuscript ay yung possibility o yung acknowledgement ng persona doon sa scenario, yung possibility na hindi naman siya mahal pa rin ng tatay niya. At nagpamatter yung pagbukas ng vulnerability na yun sa pyesa. So natatandaan ko yun din yung tinatanong ko kay Ron. Hindi naman kailangan niya isulat mismo yung tukol doon sa possibility ng death ng nanay niya. Pero yung konting bukas lang na somehow sa kahit split second in-entertain ng kamalayan niya na may ganung possibility. Tingin ko mag-work para kay Don. Mag-work para sa iyo yung pagbubukas. Kaya nga, parang ayoko rin kasi mag-disagree pero hindi ako sumasang-ayon na super honest pa itong pyesang ito kasi maraming pader. Mukha lang siyang bukas na bukas pero ang daming harang. At ito ay sasabihin mo, parang naalala ko yung mga kaibigan natin na yung mga galing sa masamang relasyon na parang pag makakausap mo, kunwari, 2 weeks din sa ibang bansa, tapos, Mars, yan, Bes. Basta yung lakad mo, tapos may sabihin siya na parang, nakita ko si ex, grabe, taba na niya, pangit na, mukha siyang rhinoceros, ganyan. Tapos, kamusta yung lakad? Pumasyal kami dito, ganyan. Hindi na nga ako over sa kanya eh. Ganyan. Tapos, tapos ultimately, pagkatapos mong tanongin yun, sabihin sa kanya, pero kamusta yung tunay na ikaw? Tapos parang tatawa lang si kaibigan. Tapos, papaalaman na kayo. Pero alam mo, na pag-uwi niya, doon siya magbe-breakdown. Kasi nga, may something pa. At kaya ka naghahanap na ano, parang yung punto lang, sana sinabi mo na agad sa akin para na-comfort kita somehow. At dito sa project na ito, sana nag-make sense yung sinasabi ko na yun nga yung self-reflexivity na may mga sinasara ako. Kasi nga, kita-kita naman dito na, na may isang persona o isang writer na very capable at very much open para maging nakakatawa, affectionate, at punong-puno ng kabutihan. At yung hinahanap siguro dito pa, base sa comments, paano sinira ng isang tao yung ganong klaseng persona. At pag nagkaroon ng hints ng pagbubukas sa ganong klaseng kwento, baka mas magkaroon ako ng pagkakataon na ma-endear pa dun sa pyesa. Yung acknowledgement na parang tipong super funny dapat to, kahit ang gago talaga yung tatay ko. Tapos di pa niya ako mahal, kahit gusto niya ako mahalin niya ako. Yun kasi yung hindi sinasabi na parang malabas somehow eh. Tapos yun nga, basta di ko babanggitin nanay ko kasi naman siya. Bitch naman siya, parang gano'n. Na ang gusto natin himayin dyan pag leader ka. So, paano mo i-relate yung yearning mo for love dun sa father figure to the extent na naapektuhan din niya yung outlook mo bilang isang otherwise jolly, honest person na naging bitter, sad person na nag-make jokes, plus galit sa ibang babae gaya ng nanay niya. So, kung ma-address somehow, hindi man sa pyesang ito, pero patuho dun sa trajectory ng collection, baka maging mas may puso pa at mukhang mas matapat para sa akin. Tapos isang lang minor na point siguro, speaking of technical, hindi ko lang kung naging workshop siya dati, pero agree din ako sa sinabi na pinig ko isang buong essay na to kung nagsimula siya dun sa dinner encounter lang hanggang dun sa matapos. Marami dun sa ilang details, medyo cramp, yung hindi ka pinapahinga. Napakagaling dun sa sa intention na gawin tong parang isang decent, well-crafted, traditional essay sa isang banda na parang set up ng character A, tapos set up ni persona na nagsasalita, then yung chronology ng timeline. Baka may ganong, so kung hindi naman, napansin lang yung ganong maliit na design.
So I guess it's really a bid for greater honesty, is what he's saying. Kasi while it seems to be very honest and forthright, there are actually codes that are being, or screens that are being set up so that later the ending doesn't seem to fit. Yata yung sinasabi niya. Sino yung dito nag-raise ang hand mo na? O ano?
Ayun, nanginginig ako kasi actually sobrang hirap magsulat ng creative non-fiction. Dahil bilang yun nga yung bago kong proyekto starting a couple of years ago ng classmate ko kasi si Don kay Sir Butch nun. So yung Dancing Queen halimbawa na nabasa ko dun sa kasama ba yung dito sa collection na yun? Saan siya? Sa una or hindi na? Hindi mo na siya gagamitin? Okay. Ayun, kasi nabanggit ko na rin naman ito noon, no, na yun nga yung presensya ng nanay. Yun nga parang hinahanap natin siya. Pero again, siguro dahil ako, si Sarah, kami ni Ma'am Luna, mga nanay din kami. Tapos again, napaka-strong kasi ng tradition, both sa fiction, well, lalo na sa fiction, no, nung mga daughters writing about their mothers and how basically our mothers damaged us, gano'n. Pero yun nga yung problema kasi na yung point of view ng nanay and how actually mothers themselves are damaged by motherhood, no? Hindi yun lumalabas sa mga narrative. So I guess kaya rin meron kami parang paghahanap dun sa nanay dito dahil lang parang ano bang karanasan ng pagiging ina. At hindi namin sinasabi kailangan patawarin itong nanay mo rin, no? Pero kumbaga parang saan nang gagaling. So, nagpapasalamat nga kay Ma'am Luna na pinansin niya yung mga specific na lines na yun, no? Na parang yung mga gusto mo tungkol dun sa tatay mo ay precisely hindi ka nga inuutusan tungkol sa mga bagay na usually associated with a lady's job nga. Pero at the same time, sa dulo nga nung nung essay, like all daughters do, I forgave my father. So andun ulit yung parang helplessness actually, na wala namang magagawa ang daughter kundi patawarin ang asshole na tatay. So, hindi rin talaga emancipating nga not just like global scale, pero yung kumbaga personally, parang hindi rin emancipating yung idea na yun. Parang resignation, which is yun nga parang resignation, pero, so kumbaga hindi nga siya forgiveness. Yung ganun lang, no? So, tapos actually, ang main question ko is, as a writer, and kasi ito rin yung issue ko, no, sa pagsusulat tungkol sa disability, meron ka bang conscious framing ng narrative? Like, kasi sa disability stories, for example, iniiwasan yung ang tawag nga is inspiration porn, no? Na kumbaga parang the life of the disabled person really exists to inspire the non-disabled. So may ganun. Tapos meron din nung na-objectify kapag tragic, kasi usually kapag na-diagnose ang anak, ang narrative ng mga magulang at nakita mo yun sa mga linear na memoirs nila, laging grief, no? You start. Tapos ako, personally, sa point ng buhay ko na, bakit nga ba? Hindi naman yung death sentence ang disability, no? So kumbaga, yung narrative, yung tragic narrative, nagiging framing siya na ang result ay na-objectify yung bata. Kumbaga, nagiging objectified by that grief. So kumbaga, ako, because of that, meron akong consciousness to veer away from that. So ikaw, halimbawa, curious ako kung meron ka bang gano'n na parang ang essay ko ba ay dapat merong, may redemption arc, merong optimistic thrust, Or, yun nga, ito yung mahirap ang hirap makonfront ang sarili, no, sa teksto, na particularly sa CNN. Kasi nga makikita mo kung anong klaseng halimaw ka minsan, no? O kung anong klaseng halimaw talaga ang tatay mo, o kung ano man, no? Kung anong klaseng halimaw yung kailangan mong palabanin in the end. So, ayun, I was wondering, again, as a writer, meron ka bang ganung parang conscious choice, no? Or type of narratives?
Are you writing within a frame that you have inherited from somewhere?
It's like the existing frame that apparently you feel has to fit in that, like this forgiveness.
Oh. I think for all of the essays that I plan to write about my mother, I am conscious of revising the way that I portrayed her from the first book. Because in the first book, she was horrible. So in the second book, I think I am going to be very conscious of making sure that when I portray her, even though she's still going to be annoying, that when I talk about her, that there's going to be much more love now involved, especially after seeing that my father wasn't really as great as I imagined him to be. So now, that's the thing. I now see that I have been too harsh on my mother, so that's why this project is really, it's the middle part of it. It's all about revising the way that how I am as a daughter to her. I think so. That one I'm conscious of, definitely. I have to be better at writing about her. Even though I am going to be honest, I have to take a better attitude when it comes to that. But with my father, I think I'm not yet sure how that thing is going to take. That's the one. That's the ending. The one that's being questioned now. That's the one that I'm most nervous about, because I like that you guys are asking me, is it real? I did tell him it's okay. Pero, really, what is it when you say it's okay? But that's really what I said. But I think I just termed it as forgiveness. But when you pointed out that if it's a resignation to forgive, it's not really forgiveness. So I think that's what I'm more towards na, I mean, what else am I gonna do? Am I gonna hold on to this anger forever? So might as well just forgive. Parang ganun. So I think, that is going to be questioned though much later with the second essay kasi that's going to be a much more honest portrayal of my father and how I feel about it. I think that, yun nga, I think I just needed to establish na the thought that I thought he loved me. Or, ang conclusion with the first essay is that, yun nga, that he loves me. But with the second part of that essay, the one that will talk about my experience with him and his family and his girlfriend, that's the one that's going to break that idea na that he loves me, because it kind of was obvious na he didn't, or at least not how I think I deserve to be loved. So I guess that's all in the second essay.
Let me say something first as a woman writer. I belong to a different generation. It is only now that women are beginning to write about their mothers. My generation just avoided it completely. Those who wrote about their mothers wrote only praising their mothers. Whereas the men, there were enough narratives of them hating their fathers. Parang it was more acceptable yata for the men to hate their fathers, Oedipus complex and all that, than for women to hate their mothers. So we just said nice things about them, or we evaded it, talking about it at all. You would only find in the fiction signs that there were problems, because, for example, the mother who was a truly motherly figure did not appear in the fiction. So the daughters, if they learned like the facts of life or the myths about women, learned it from a maid, from a yaya or from an aunt. That the more appealing figure in one of the stories of Aida Rivera Ford was the mistress, who was actually the woman who was rejected by society. But she, the child, the adolescent, realized that this woman was actually nicer than her mother, and kind of understood why her father preferred her. But anyway, so ang sinasabi ko, itong nangyayari ngayon, na sinusulat na ninyo yung mga nanay ninyo, that's a big step forward already. Maganda yung sinabi ni Luna, I think, na you don't even have to forgive her if you don't want to. But give her a fair chance, siguro. No? I guess that's what you're saying. Give her credit where credit is due. Put it in the correct perspective of what kind of man she was married to and what kind of society she had to survive in. Kinuwento mo yun dun sa unang kwento mo, she had to hold 2 jobs so that she could make it. Pero yung ano naman, ginamit ka rin niya, di ba? Gusto ka niya maging beauty queen kasi merong kontrata pala dun sa mayor about something or other. So, talagang very flawed yung babaeng yun, no? Pero yun na nga, maybe if you give her a fair chance, and you don't have to forgive her. It's just, well, anyway. Very emotional na ito mga, mga sinasabi ng mga babae. Si Bomin ata muna. Kanino pa? Siya na muna.
Sentence lang. I would not use the word resignation. I will use the word acceptance. Acceptance. In other words, kasi I am not convinced when you said, I knew he loved me. How did you know that? No, I knew he loved me. No. Where was that love? No? In other words, accept that. I accept you. You are human. You are a human being. That's it. Accept that.
You are what you are, you mean?
I don't like resignation thing because our people are too resigned.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Ito dagdag lang dun sa sabi ni Jim. Kasi yung tawag dito, macro details. So, nakuha ni green card na in 2016, right? Or na-legalize siya in 2016. So that was when you were 34 years old, right? Tapos, that was after 22 years of being gone. 22 years in gap. Tapos, he left you when you were 12. So, if you were going to become 21, you'd have needed 9 years. 21. If you were going to become 22 years ago siya.
Ayun na naman, Bomin eh. Kahapon pa yan eh.
Yung kanyang gap, right? right? And I'm 34 years old. Now, kung 21 years old ka, that's only 9 years away from being 12 years old, right? Yeah. 21 years old. 9, right? Diba? So,
Ilang bata sa
ang
beer
question,
yan?
ang question
Ilang
ko
bata
dito
sa beer yan?
is that your father broke down because
Oo.
of this notion that he would have brought you to the States when you were 21 years old.
Yung pala yun.
Yung parallel life that he would have saved you from the life in the Philippines and all. Ang problema na, it's not a sincere apology because it could not have happened. Dahil tago pa siya ng tago no, after 9 years. That's why hindi nga siya makapagpalagay ng address doon sa kanyang mga pinapadala. Diba? Sabi niya, yung kaibigan ko, yung mga kasabayan ko, nadala nila yung kanilang mga anak na sa US. O ikaw, hindi ko nadala. Kakalungkot, di ba? Ganyan, but it was not possible at all. Ano? Dahil nga, 2016 siya magkakaroon ng green card. So, yung emotional moment na yun had no power. Kasi wala namang option to do this. Why would he break down when there was actually no option? He was still hiding out. There was no way to bring you to live that parallel life, to study in the US, no? To do those things. Diba?
Ano kung yun yung realize ito?
Wala.
Paano kung ngayon lang yun realize
After
ito?
many
How
years,
umiyak bigla?
I mean, older, to do that kind of thing, So parang, if he was going to apologize about doing that, parang it's not a really sincere apology, looking at the facts, Diba? Pero yun parang, kasi parang yung climactic thing that makes him realize that I haven't done you, justice, di ba? Ganyan. Kasi iba, nagawa nila yun. Bakit hindi ko nagawa? Eh, tapos very minor observation lang. Tungkol dun sa Four Seasons Hotel. Diba? You went there, diba? Four Seasons Hotel dun sa Friends sa Mall of Asia. Yeah, Four Seasons. Yeah. Tapos nag-usap-usap ng kaibigan nila. And he brings out a cassette tape and plays it. Is there still a player in Four Seasons now? Cassette tape? I just brought it. No? Okay. So, nagulat ako parang, it's just like cassette tape. So, he didn't play it. So, they were bringing their parang mga mementos from the past. Yeah, so yun lang naman. Parang, if you look at the facts, parang it doesn't seem to fit with how climactic it should have become. Kasi kung talagang may posibilidad, edi mas may totoo yung sinabi niya. Pero wala naman eh.
Okay, si Ronald and then Sharon.
Three things lang. Yung first is yung introspection katulad dun sa nung skimming your first book. They just come in at the latter part, no? Dito, maganda yung introspection because it matches some memories of the past with the present, yung feeling about the past. I think the entire CNF succeeds because of its ability to create a certain kind of mood. In this kind of simple everyday reality or everyday event, it's a complex, it's a melting pot of emotions and anxiety, etc. Pero all the way throughout the essay, you only find the introspection coming in the latter part. Yung para try and attempt to close niya the way you're framing it. I suppose one way to also create a breathing space for your essay, para hindi naman may heavy burden, heaviness of the details coming in one after the other. I also create that kind of introspection to sa iba pang sections of the essay. And probably that would also cohere with what Jimmy Abad is looking for as a kind of yung introspection leading to a metaphor that will unfold at the latter part of the essay. Yung second, the title has Speedy Gonzales in it, and without the introduction, Speedy Gonzales just comes in by way of a mention in this essay. So you might want to also bring it throughout the essay as another kind of framing device. Yung third, probably as a kind of shift din, no? Because the essay or even the personality that we have here of this writer, may long talaga for an ideal nuclear family. It hinges on that, and you're entitled to that, no? But it did not happen, and it does not happen for a lot of Filipino families. You might want to move into another kind of paradigm ba na hindi nuclear family, wherein you redefine yung family mo who becomes the maternal figure in your adolescent life, who becomes a paternal figure, rather than staking claims na abandon ka or and living with this tortured kind of absence, no? Baka kailangan i-reframe mo rin, baka it might create another kind of, dahil hindi pa naman nasulat yata the entire collection, you might want to reframe it na as a kind of a time na may agency ka rin naman to create. It allows you to create your own kind of experience with family, and to be able to redefine family that can succeed without the presence of an absent father and a negligent mother, as you have framed it.
Roland, just to clarify, are you suggesting that she rewrite this
No.
with a refrain, or that she, in the next...
Or just into herself, parang,
To herself.
parang kung ayaw mo isulat, pag-isipan mo lang. Baka naman, hindi naman kailangan family, mag-harp ka dito sa sa traumatic past mo. But looking forward, you've succeeded without this heavy burden of an absent family. Then you come up with a kind of power to redefine your own kind of experience with family.
As I was saying, this is what happens with CNF. After a while, we're commenting on the live. Ito, isip ka naman,
Hindi naman.
No, but I think that's what Roland was suggesting, because I know you personally. I know that in your real life you have created this alternative family, di ba? Sige. I'm not about to bring up anything dark and dreary. I was going to say to your friends. You're so close to your friends. You've chosen to live in the same condo building, di ba? Yung ganyan. You learn to each other, you have each other. May ganun na. Siguro, without you realizing it, that alternative family structure exists. So maybe you can bring it into your subsequent essays. Charles,
So, in conclusion,
3 o'clock.
God should write fiction. Kasi, earlier, just reacting. Earlier, sabi niya, it's reluctant to write fiction dahil maraming bagahe. Diba? So, we want to clean it up. But precisely, we write fiction because maraming bagahe. And so it's not a hindrance. No? You should think of it. In fact, you don't have to keep anything out if you're writing fiction. Diba? You can even be more honest. Good fiction is always honest. And so, as a reader naman, I will always look for the same things I look for in any piece of work or in fiction. And anyway, you don't have to worry about your parents. They will always see themselves in whatever you write. Like nasabihin mong fiction, they will say, ako yan, diba? So, I will always look for the same things. Character, insight, earning your ending. So, kahit na naman yun, diba? So, at some point, the father here is not just your father. It's all fathers. Because I will look for my father, you will look for his father, in what you wrote. And forgiveness will have to be every child forgiving a parent or whatever real or imagined wrong committed to the reader. So, yun din yun, whether you call it just labels anyway. So you can write fiction if it helps you better the discourse, right? So it's
thank you for all of your, especially for the suggestions that you made, Nina and Francis, all the stuff that I can read and add to this piece. Thank you so much, and also for for all of your comments on the ending and how I portrayed the people in my essay. A lot of the things that you pointed out were my concerns na, yun nga eh, kasi that's why I was very conscious na, okay, at the end, kailangan may forgiveness. Otherwise, I can't establish what I'm trying to establish. And I think parang that, ano ba to? That goal of writing with forgiveness in mind was not helpful, I suppose, in this essay because ano ba to? Like Sir Vlad said, maraming walls, and I wasn't able to, ano ba? I wasn't able to capitalize on all the bits that I put in there, like especially what Sir Julie Cruz was talking about yung mess sa bahay ko and how I talked about my closet. Yung part yun kasi I think I put in there to establish na, kasi this is, the entire time that we were, all three of us were together, we rented houses. I never had an address, a fixed address. And parang this was my first fixed address. And I think yung mga bits about how messy my house is was kind of my way of saying that, hey, I was able to fix my life. But it's not as as proper as it would be because I didn't have that much guidance. Kasi lang, I guess I kind of brushed through it because I didn't want to put a negative stuff in there, any more negative stuff in there because my goal was forgiveness. I gotta forgive this person. So parang ayun. So ayun. Thank you so much for your comments. And Sir Jimmy, I'm gonna look for that image. I was thinking yung panda niya with this, but it's not. Hindi siya. I look for it, sir. Dito. Ano ba? Sorry. Sir. Hindi ba? Hindi naman. Okay naman. I mean, I wrote it all down. Sir Bowman, yung, na-stress ako. Akala ko pinapag-math problem mo ako. But I think your point is yung parang useless yung apology niya kasi hindi rin. So parang that's what I was thinking na your apology was kind of a little too late, but at least my apology. Parang gano'n. So parang, okay, thanks for the effort, I guess. But I guess I just have to be more like what Sir Jimmy said. Instead, hindi kasi here what I think about all of these things happening, like these things happening, what is my take on it, what I feel about it. So, ayun. Thank you so much for all of your suggestions. Thank you.
I just add one thing. Considering that you're having really still difficulty, I think, confronting all the sordid details of your relationship with your parents. My sordid is not the right word. Sad. Maybe the suggestion of Charleston might be the way out. The fiction, because you were able to detach from it, and then maybe able to come to terms with it. Kasi ang iniisip ata niya, Luna and Anna, na the only way to be able to move on, kasi buhay niya ito, di ba? The only way to be able to move on is to forgive na lang, di ba? So, pag na-forgive ko na, pwede na akong lumipat. Pero, lumakat. Pero, yun na nga, they are not so sure that that's the way out. So, yun namang kitsaso na suggestion. O di, kung it is not necessary, you know, parang you seem to be also trying to fit into a role that you think maybe is the right one. But if you do it in fiction, since that's not you naman, that's a persona that you created, a character that you created, maybe you'll be more able to do it. And yun ang suggestion. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And, any announcements or wala na yata yung staff.
Ayan.
They found it too heavy.
So that ends our session for today. We proceed to consultation, so kanya-kanyang corner. But otherwise, we will see you back here
Dinner will be served by 6 p.m. again here, not downstairs. We will be screening tayo by 7 o'clock p.m. here, dual screens. And again, please stay because after the screening, there will be a 10 to 15 minute Q&A with, of course, our filmmaker. For those who are